going to give a presentation and take questions. All right.
There I am. All right. Well, we wanted to bring this back to council. It's been a while since we've been here, but we've had an opportunity to, I believe, have 3 really, really good meetings with the staff that will be housed in this building. So as you know, when we first started looking at the building, and in front of you, you guys have 4 drawings, and we'll start on the first one. So that's the layout of the existing site. And I apologize to the audience. I'm not quite sure what the best way is to do this, but so on the left-hand side over here, your right-hand side, you'll see the existing site plan, which shows the existing fire department, the former police building, the new police building, and Haymaker. And then on the left side, you'll see the proposed site plan. There you'll see where we've laid out the new city hall. So one of the things that we took a look at was we first started looking at this as what I would call a 2-story type structure. And what we were finding is that it was really spreading out and really getting long and kind of taking up quite a bit of the site. As well, there were some concerns and issues with the views from the windows upstairs, how they would look out onto the city, what that light would be coming in, and what we could take advantage of. At that particular time in that meeting, we kind of asked the architect to take a look at maybe going up 1 more floor, making it a 3-story, or basically about 2.5 stories out of the ground, because don't forget, Haymaker sits so far below coming up. So that's what you have before you tonight. We took a look at it. It was actually able to snuggle into the corner a whole lot better. You're able to take advantage of the intersection itself and the unique angle that it has by us having the round rotunda at the very entrance there, giving us kind of a unique look as people are driving down Haymaker. Kind of, if it's all glass or a huge amount of glass, we can have it lit at night, which would give us kind of a really cool glow. There's also enough space in it that we could have some sort of unique piece of art, perhaps, maybe a tree or something of that nature. But there's also an area where we would then be able to do, as you guys had discussed, maybe have some local art or those kinds of things located in it. So it's going to be a beautiful space as we begin to move forward with it. In addition to that, then we were able to lay out the council chambers better, giving us more of the square and being able to hold 100+ people in it. We're able to get some chairs and tables, and then we're able to take a look at all of that. So we were very excited. The one thing that was a huge plus, because I know everybody was worried about parking, is we're actually able to maintain the amount of parking we have there. We actually grew by 2 spaces, but I say that a little reluctantly, only because don't forget we're going to end up having to have a dumpster and those kinds of things. So we may lose 2, but right now we're staying status quo with the number of parking spaces. And the one advantage that we have here is it will function a lot better. So coming in and going out, if you take a look at that site plan, we can get double stacked aisles, allowing for better flow within that site. So if you'll flip your pages to the first section that I have, it should say lower level. And that is actually the level that's going to bring us in off of Haymaker. So when you take a look at that, we have the large rotunda there on the corner with a couple doors. And then you come into that space. There's a nice lobby area once you get past the round area. We did account for some public restrooms right off that rotunda area, so maybe on heavier events or things of that nature where we might need to have extra restrooms available, we can lock the rest of the building and allow that just to be open, or they can be locked the rest of the time just to be able to control coming and going. So it's kind of a nice little key point there. As you come into the main lobby, and then you'll notice directly then to the south is the council chambers. As you'll see, it's kind of laid out. We have both a combination of tables and chairs, which we had thought might be nice for the press or people that have their stuff, as well as the remainder of the chambers being open for the public. Along the side, you'll see there's about 6 chairs and desk areas. That's where we thought maybe the directors could sit or those that needed to be there to make a presentation. Myself, yeah. It's easier target for people to see. My name tag can be there, you know, especially lately. But that way then you have kind of a direct eye contact with us. We can look directly at you guys and have a little bit better function.
You sure you want that?
Today, ask me tomorrow, maybe. Right off of that, you'll notice that you have executive chambers and then a council office, and that might be the area where you guys bring in some of your constituents or people that you want to meet with. The council chambers is real nice with a lot of glass that gets you between the two. One of the beauties is we started to look at elevations. I don't have those today because we looked at about 4 or 5. We drew the elements we really liked, and they're in the process of putting that together for us. But one of the pluses that you'll see as it's coming, we're going to utilize the fact of this being actually exposed on that south and north side with a lot of glass. So you're going to see some great stuff. Council chambers itself, we've looked at different things of lights going, or windows going vertical as well as horizontal. So that gives us a unique idea of how that sunlight would come in, especially in the evenings. So rest assured, you will have that transparency, the ability for you to see out, the public to see in, and you'll be right along that sidewalk. It's a nice feature for us to have in that area. Over on the north side of the building going along Haymaker, that's going to be more, remember that back portion again is going to be pushed into the ground. A big portion of it will be pushed into the ground, and only a slight portion up at the top will actually be exposed with windows. So this is more of our mechanical needs, our staff kitchen, our area where people can come down, have their lunches, do those kinds of things, where you don't really need to have access to light, janitor, housekeeping, and some storage. If you turn to the next page, going the other way, you'll have what we're calling the main level. Again, you'll see the round rotunda that goes all the way up to the top. So it's going to be a beautiful feature that is open all the way down with glass on the inside of this so that you'll be actually able to see through it. But this is the main level where you're coming off of the parking area. So you'll be able to come into that main area. Nice thing here, we made council chambers 2 stories. So you'll actually be able to take a look-see into council from this level, as well on the back side of the parking, you'll have more lights. So council chamber will be fairly light, be fairly airy, we're thinking, depending on how we go ahead and place those windows. Up there as well, off that main level, you'll see we have the civil service office, as well as then what we're calling a shared conference area. This could be used by civil service for their meetings. This is an area if we need a bigger staff meeting, if you guys have 3, 4, or 5 people you want to bring in, this is a shared conference area. We talked about having a few of those rather than every area having one. This way we're able to utilize space and still be able to use it amongst ourselves. On the left side, oh, I don't see our finance director. This is his entire wing. Very well needed. We have several areas for his staff, accounts payable, receivables, those kinds of things. You have your utility and your tax counter. You have an area right in off that door. So if they need to help our residents with any kind of bills, taxes, those kinds of things, which is a nice service that we do provide, they're able to bring them right in and right into that conference room. So it's easy and accessible. As you move farther back, then you'll have the finance director, the controller, payroll, those kinds of things, and then some nice storage area for them. They have a lot of things there that they need to keep. As you know, we're audited every 2 years, so all of that stuff has to stay easily accessible and ready. So that's going to be there with a space then for the auditors to come in and take a look at all that we're doing. Again, on these sides, you will have tons of windows coming in here and a lot of windows so that they have a lot of nice natural light. I know Mr. Coffey is excited because if you've ever been to his office, it's kind of in the middle of the building with no natural light. Going on to our top floor. You'll enter in on the main level. There is an elevator right accessible, as well as what we're going to try and do is draw in a nice staircase, again, right into that center area. And that is where you will find the city manager and his staff. You'll be able to walk right in. His assistant will be there. He's got a nice little open space as well as a conference center. And we've also made a little area for the economic developer. Mostly because when they're having meetings or trying to attract people in, we want them to have a nice space and a nice place to go. So periodically, there may be need for the economic developer to be up there, to have conversations and sit there to have people in. Again, as you come in there, there's a little bit of a space to the back of that lobby area. It says unprogrammed right now, so that way we've got it for future expansion. We can currently use it for storage, and then again, another shared conference room right above the other one. Then when you go into, you have control again, and you will see that we have the law department, the HR department, and the mayor and clerk of council, all on that third floor. Again, both sides of these rooms will have some beautiful windows and beautiful light into them. The end is one of the things that I'm most excited about. It says long-term filing room. The one thing that we always do that's the easiest thing to get cut first is storage. And that is the one thing that you most desperately need. So I am really excited that we're able to get that within this window and within this envelope of this building and be able to provide everybody that's there some nice storage space. So we're pretty excited about this. It's really coming together. I don't know if anybody that sat in our meetings has anything else more to add. Right now, this is where we are on it. And again, we're taking a look at elevations, and that'll be the next thing that we bring to you. We're pretty excited about that, again, because we're taking advantage of the sunlight, the uniqueness. We're taking a look at different characters of bricks and materials that we can use, things that blend in, things that begin to take us through the site. One last thing that I'll point out that I didn't really notice until I started preparing for this, but it's kind of unique. Each one of our municipal buildings all have an arm and a leg that's pointing down Haymaker. And again, remember, we're going to be the head of our municipal area with this building. So basically, it's leading us from the head to the fire, to the police, and then our ultimate connection to the university. So I think it's just a great way that we're making that progression down the street, starting with the head and really showing the strength of our community. So if you have any questions at this time, I'll be happy to take them.
I got one. The council office on the lower level doesn't seem user-friendly for people to get in and out. It's like you got to come into the council room and walk through a hallway to get to the council office. I wonder if that could be configured, changing the executive or the conference room and moving that council office, transposing them.
Sure. That's certainly
I mean,
something.
that's my viewpoint. I might be wrong.
Sure. No, I think that's great. I think one of the reasons that the executive conference room was there was one of the concerns that you wanted is when you went into, again, that transparency, because again, we're looking at glass on this side and probably some glass on that side, which is what several of you that went to look on those views had. But I don't think that that would be too far of a stretch that we could actually change it so the executive
It just seems to me
conference.
that if somebody's going to come in and meet one of my colleagues, they shouldn't have to walk through 3 rooms to get to.
It's a good point. I'll make sure that we take that back and see if they can't reconfigure that.
John, you had a question?
Yeah, are we taking full advantage of anything with renewable energy and with LED lighting and that?
All of that we talked about. We talked about the fact that you guys would like to see these buildings and what that means. We had talked about, somebody had asked, I forget who, the rooftop garden and those kinds of things. All of that's being looked at as a part of this, but we're just too early in that session. But certainly LED lights are certainly going to be one of those. That's one of those that will cast off a beautiful light in that main open area as well as along the edge of our building.
Finished? Heidi?
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that. So I really like that you turned the council chambers back this way, and you have like sort of that really nice design feature that's going to pick up that sort of rounded corner that's across the street as well, that really kind of reflects. I think it's just going to look fabulous, and it's kind of cool because that picks up on another little building that we have that Garret might know very well over here, that has that cute little vestibule area, the rotunda. I really like it a lot. I am concerned that we do have some visible green features. In fact, this looks like a perfect design now to put some solar panels on the south side, maybe over the council chambers. Is this going to have the same roof line over the council chambers as it does?
No, the roof line right now, as we're looking at it, will actually drop. So remember, council chambers is 2 stories, the rest of the building is 3 stories. So that will be a lower look, which would be ideal for those types of items that we could put up there.
Thank you.
Robin?
Yeah, I was wondering, and this would be kind of odd, I guess, the life of the facility and how it can be adapted to meet future expansion if necessary.
Future expansion in what way? Adding on to it or reconfiguring space?
Expanding out.
Okay.
Whatever we need to do, but that's additional building, not adaptable in the existing site, but an area that you would not be currently, built
Sure. If you take a look at the site plan, we do have area on what would be the south side of the building that would allow us to expand right next to council chambers, and both that could be a below the ground space or just build it at grade and then go up, giving us a little bit of a different look from that area. We can also probably travel a little more up Haymaker, but again, the elevation change there becomes pretty traumatic for us. So that's going to be a difficult one to traverse. We can also move out into this space if we needed to, so we could add a whole nother leg if we needed to in the future. The fact that we do have and we're still able to accommodate the parking there gives us lots of advantage for the future. So I do think that you have a lot of space that you can expand into. The existing facility itself, some of those file rooms and stuff, if you would need more personnel, you could probably downsize those a little bit and add more office space of that nature. We did discuss the possibility of, for instance, over council chambers, building it so that you could add a third story. The architect is taking a look at that, but they kind of felt that the expense for a what if might be a little more costly than you really need to do. And they say a lot of times people do that because they think they're going to do that and they never expand it or they never go on. So it's a lost expense in the building. So they may have some more that they can add with that and real dollars that they could associate with that at our next meeting.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
What is the lifespan that we're talking about with this facility? Has anybody looked out to say, we won't have to do this for another 50, 75 years?
That's the number that we're throwing out, exactly. And I'm hoping that we do such a great job in building it and maintaining it, it's here for a lot longer than just that 50 and 75 years.
You done?
Yes.
Roger.
First of all, Melanie, I really appreciate all the work that you obviously in the team listened very carefully to what our inputs and the things that we found when we did our tours, and I see a lot of it incorporated in this, so that's tremendous. As far as future expansion, I think realistically, the city of Kent is landlocked. I mean, realistically, we're not going to, unless Franklin Township wants to join us, and then we have, I just don't know that we're going to have to expand most services. So I like the idea of being able to expand up above the council chambers, but I'm not sure that the cost would be.
Correct.
It just might not be worth it. I just don't see our staff expanding that much, and if the expansion is, it's not so much on the administrative end, the expansion most probably would be needed in our service end, and let's blunt about that. I mean, we're the workers.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll be back next month. No, just kidding.
But the other thing I want to mention too is that I like the idea that we have actually taken that corner and we've integrated that corner with the other buildings. Now the question will be, what's it going to look like in terms of brickwork, coloring, glass, all that. That's going to be, but I like the configuration. I think we're on the right track there, and the fact that our parking, you're able to enter from above or below. I think those are all good things.
Thank you. Yeah, we actually have a meeting next Wednesday, and they'll come back to us with a couple more designs on that outside and bring us some specific materials so we can start really taking a look at that.
And getting back to what John was talking about, when will it be appropriate for us to talk about, what my favorite subject is, all the technology, the need to be able to live stream our council meetings, our board meetings, things like that. When will that be an appropriate time to have that conversation?
Sure. Once we're able to hone into a floor plan that we're really going to be able to support and like, along with what that exterior is going to look like, so we have some ideas on cost, because then we're going to be able to really put a number to that square footage, as well as what the features are that you want for the outside. After that, then they'll probably need a month or two to start looking at some detailed drawings, take a look at what's available out there, what other places have, listening again to what you guys had said about being able to live stream, or at least have modern technology so that stuff is right in front of you and we don't have to do this silly trying to get everybody look at, and you don't have to turn around for that. They'll take a look at all of that, and then I would say, and I don't want to push them, but it is September, so probably more like January we might be back, and then we can start sharing with you what those things are. Colors on the inside and colors on the outside will certainly be a part of what we take a look at next. And that, again, will be coming to you in October. I don't know that we'll have the full dimension of that, but we'll at least be able to tell you the brick versus split-face block, the glass, whether it's tinted, if it's tinted, what color and how much and what transparency we have, along then with any of the finishes that would go on the outside edge.
Garrett?
Very nice. I like the way it incorporates the angle of the land and all that. But one of the things we had talked about was overflow potential for that time when we do have council meeting. And I look at the lobby on the lower level and just, where does the overflow come? And I think it was, the mayor mentioned the council office. I don't profess to know the answers. I just know the question. Where does it, can that be reconfigured in such a way that if you needed the overflow that you go out into the lobby?
Absolutely. And we did have a little bit of a conversation on that. So remember, one of the things, although the windows aren't there on that edge, we thought this whole area along that where the door is should also be all glass. So remember, you don't physically have to remove a wall to be able to expand into that area. But again, it goes back to the technology. If we can have screens and sound systems that are out there that they can hear everything that's happening, we could certainly expand into that lobby area by bringing in extra chairs, setting people up so they're able to see the cameras and such, and then you're able to entertain a larger group of people. Should we get to that size too, you also have to determine what you're talking about and what you really need. You may need a larger space, such as the police building, or maybe something even bigger than that. But I certainly think we can expand into that lobby, no problem, making sure that there's glass here, and again, with video and screens and sound systems, that's easy to move people into there.
So my second question was on space related also with the circular area that's open from the lobby or from the ground floor. Will that be, and I'm sorry if I missed that when I was late, but will that be a space to exhibit things? Okay.
Absolutely. We've talked about several different things, and that's something we would be coming back to you. But one of the nice features in here is that you have the ability to have a substantial piece of something that maybe reflects what we are. Is it a live tree? Do we try and do something like that? Is it a sculptural tree? We are the tree city. Those are things we've certainly thrown out there. The space is also just a beautiful space that you'd be able to have exhibits, whether it's sitting on displays such as this, whether we have glass cabinets out there. Any of that is possible. This is really your imagination space that we can really take some excitement about. And then you move that into the lobby area, and the beautiful part is on that main level, you also have another great open area that you can bring people into, and while they're maybe waiting to go up and see the city manager or waiting to get into finance, that also is another great space that we could take advantage of and have some great stuff on the walls that maybe periodically change, whether we're talking about our history or the university itself or just current events that are occurring.
Gwen?
To get in, you said it's on street level, council chambers, like that first floor. Are there steps, or how?
Elevator.
Yep, you have an elevator. You can come in from street level. There's an elevator that'll take you up.
Okay.
There's also a main set of stairs here that will make a nice feature here. And again, you come in at this level back here.
Well, from the street level, I mean, looking at the building, from the sidewalk.
Yep.
Are there steps to get up in, or is it like level with the?
Oh, no.
The entryway is.
Right now, we're proposing it to be completely level with that area.
Okay, good. I like
Yeah.
that very much for
And
accessibility.
no steps, nothing of that nature. There will be some grading, unique stuff. They hadn't had a chance to really look at what that will be, but there is an elevation change there. But working with the bike trail and everything that's down there, we want that to be level so that
Totally.
everybody feels that inclusiveness and to come in.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. John, one last question. We're running out of time.
I see we have multiple small conference rooms, and it's questionable, do we need that many? And the second thing is, like the council chambers, is that going to be designed in such a way that that could be multifunctional and not just room that sits empty a lot?
Council chambers itself, it's so large, the use of it would be more for a presentation type thing. So I'm going to assume that if Planning Commission had a large meeting or BZA had a large meeting, you could certainly do that. We could certainly entertain other groups here, or we could bring in, I like this space myself, I like to bring in people sometimes and have a nice little seminar for maybe my entire department at the water department or the entire central maintenance. And so this might be a nice place just to get them out of their place and bring them in here. So it can be utilized for certainly other things, doesn't always have to sit empty. As far as the extra conference rooms go, the beauty about having those is that they can right now show as conference rooms, but if we would need an extra office space, you could certainly convert those into that. If we needed extra storage, civil service maybe didn't need that, but certainly needed to be able to have a lot of storage there, you can utilize it for those kinds of things as well. So it's a versatile space right now that we show as conference rooms, because I do think that there's a lot of meetings that happen today. We just had kind of a conflict. We had one upstairs, we had to go downstairs. So we do see that a lot. That's one beautiful thing too, though. Today we met with some developers and First Energy. This would be an awesome place to bring them and have those meetings. And so I see, even though I wouldn't be actually located here, the use of this space may be multifold for all of us.
I think so. Further questions? Not? Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you next month with the elevations.
All right, we got a few minutes. If anybody wants to entertain counsel under public communications, you must sign in with the clerk.
Hey, Jerry, I liked your comment about the executive conference room. I would prefer it be back further and have the council meeting room, the council
You
room.
have something, you finally agreed with me after 9 years.
I know, I'm shocked.
Better yet, what'd you have to drink?
But I think, I think that plenty of glass is good for council meetings. Our executive sessions, you don't need people like with their faces pressed up against the window anyway. I would rather have the meeting room too, for safety. And meeting with the constituents that may or may not be upset. You don't want that meeting room to be back in the bowels of the building. For safety, you want it to be further out. I wonder what safety features they do
I
have.
want it user-friendly.
Walk around that circle and go into the room.
Yeah.
Again, if anybody wants to address council under public communication, you must sign in with the clerk.
Down into the- I'm not real sure what the visualize, because that's not like an open tower of glass, is it?
This?
Yeah.
It is two.
After the
It's
mayor's
two
report.
stories, yes. And then, but above, this round thing, the rotunda, then it serves us as space for offices on the top floor. Isn't that cool?
It's closed then on the
If anybody wants to address
Yeah.
council under public communication, you must sign in with the clerk, or you will be not
Ticket.
called up.
I like it, it's good.
Well, now you can buy a light bulb that scans and plays music.
Somebody tell John that we have to build our building LEED qualified.
Nice job, Melanie.
Upgraded lights. And
I love it.
you're the one that passed the legislation.
Pardon me?
You're one of them that passed the legislation.
The business.
All buildings in the city have, the city buildings have to be LEED qualified.
Well, I don't think they have to be LEEDs qualified, but I
Well,
think
they
they
have
should meet LEED standards.
Well, you should have passed the legislation where they have to be LEED.
But I'm actually opposed to building with government money for LEEDs, because the building code was almost at a LEED standard anyhow. And you pay the extra money, but you can write anything in your architectural drawings.
That went up in the police department, all the roof leaks now.
I know.
That's not the only problem.
Right there is.
I voted against it.
That's not the only problem with that building, believe me.
But as I
I bought you a bottle of water.
I feel like a munchkin here. What are you laughing at?
You're talking about our food stamps.
I don't know.
So we're gonna have a bunch of people walking around with guns the whole time we're doing that.
We're right.
I was like, I'm the perfect.
Is it not their right? They got just as much constitutional right as you do.
It's just not good timing.
I think when they told them not to bring the guns, they just.
I don't think it should be their right to go parading.
They really
Go
don't.
parading
You
guns
disagree with the
around.
Constitution. I don't think it's right either, but they're right
That's
under the
not in the
Constitution.
Constitution. Not in the Constitution to.
No, I know.
Because they have, but it's also about militias.
You're not
Are they a
gonna
militia?
win this one.
Are they a militia?
No, they're not. But that's
It's one person representing her right.
right bear arms with a well-established militias.
It's a militia.
Good evening, it's 7:30. Welcome to the September 19th
So
council
I'm gonna assume
meeting.
it's a militia.
Would the clerk please read the roll?
Mr. Amrhein.
Here.
Mr. DeLeone.
Here.
Mr. Ferrara. Mr. Kuhar.
Here.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Here.
Ms. Shaffer? Here. Mr. Sidoti?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Here.
And Ms. Wallach?
Opening remarks and pledge allegiance by Mr. Sidoti.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you, Mr. Mayor, that you finally won a bet with Rebecca.
2 times in 8 years.
It was nice, yeah, it was nice to see the Rough Riders. We had the pleasure of standing together, and we actually got to watch them actually beat Ravenna. So congratulations,
Thank you.
and don't wait a year to collect on that bet, okay? Make sure-
We're working on it.
Oh, you're working on it, okay. Secondly, I want to, I know this is a touchy subject, but I really want to thank our administration in how they responded to the difficulties that were presented to the community by our current trash haulers. I know that when we all get blindsided right before Labor Day, including our administration, including city council, including everyone in the city, when we get blindsided, and we have to respond to our constituents. And I know the extra hours and effort that our administration went through, because I know the phone calls I took. And I will tell you that I also admire our community, because once I explained what was going on, they go, oh, okay, well, okay. But the fact that we got blindsided, I think it shouldn't go unnoticed that everyone worked very hard to try to help our community understand what was really going on. And I think it should be noted. And I want to thank you for your hard work. Why don't we stand and we'll do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion for the minutes?
I'd like to move that the minutes of the regular city council meeting of August 15th and the special city council meeting of September 5th.
Can you separate that?
I can. I'll just move the regular city council
Second.
meeting of August 15th.
Wait, okay. Gwen?
Yes, I have some,
Who seconded the motion?
I did.
All right.
Oh, I did, yes.
All right, now discussion.
okay. I just had a couple of changes. On page 9 of 12, the word onus is spelled, we need to correct the spelling. And on page 7 of 8, the motion to continue.
We can't do those until we get to health and, those are Health and Safety Committee meeting minutes.
Okay.
At the bottom, if you see it's for health and safety.
Okay. How about
Yep,
that?
you have to re-say that for later.
That's the next.
Hang on to that thought then.
You got it.
Any other corrections by anyone on council?
5.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
It's
Abstain.
It's Jerry's job.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I take the mayor's job?
That's all right.
Did we all say aye, except for her?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
And 1 absent, no, 2. Gwen, how'd you vote?
Well, this was for the.
The
All right,
typo.
all right, just want to
So
make sure
only
you're
one
covered.
abstention? Okay.
I'm good.
All right.
Okay, so now I'll move the special city council meeting of September 5th.
Second?
Any discussion?
Yes. Just on page 9 of 12.
Not,
there's-
you have to wait till we get to health and safety. That's not the special meeting.
That's not the list.
Any other discussion? Anybody else want to take a try at this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
2 abstentions? All right. All right, under communication, public communications, let me first read my thing. While the law does not require council to provide time for the public comment, we have historically invited the public to make comments, and we appreciate their input. This is a time when residents and others can comment on matters that concern them. However, we will not engage in debate, and as president of council, I reserve the right to end any public communication that is disruptive, embarrassment, harassment, or otherwise objective. We ask that when you come to the microphone, that you speak into the mic clearly, give your name and address, and you limit it to 3 minutes of discussion. So does clerk have any?
We have 3. Mike Kerrigan?
Yeah,
Good
3
evening,
minutes.
everyone. I'll be quick.
Name and address.
Sorry, Mike Kerrigan, Portage County Board of Commissioners, 449 South Meridian, Ravenna. So if your public comment period is anything like mine, it's typically people asking you for something or complaining about something. I am not here to do either. I'm here to actually thank council and the administration for the work with the county as well as with all of our townships and villages on the local government fund. It really was local government at its best. And none of us walked away, I really think, with what we wanted out of the deal, but I think that we all walked away feeling good about the agreement that we all came to. So I want to thank you, and particularly Mr. Coffey and the administration and the city manager for the diligent work that took place. The numbers that were flying around were dizzying. But the follow-up, and if there is an ask out of the conversation, it would just be keep in the back of your mind, I've already got the agreement from the County Commissioners Association of Ohio, as well as the Ohio Township Association and most of our townships in the county, that once we get past the election and we have the new state legislature in January, I want as many of us as we can get possible to go down to Columbus and have conversations with our legislature, or excuse me, our legislators about the local government fund and the cuts that we've all been taking collectively, because the expansion in the rainy day fund and the cuts to the state income tax, those aren't being felt in Columbus, they're being felt here in our cities and our townships and our villages. So just bear that in mind, and I'll be in touch as we get past the first of the year. But thank you very much again.
Thank you. Next.
Terry Thompson?
Is there one before you, Terry?
No, there's only 3.
That's the last one?
No, Judy Nelson is after Terry Thompson.
I want to give you a little bit more time, because we want you.
Okay, Judy Nelson.
We want Judy too.
Name and address in 3 minutes.
Judy Nelson, 330 Whetstone Drive. I'm also here to thank council and the mayor. He issued a proclamation again this year making October Sustainability Month. So the Sustainability Commission is very grateful for that. And in the proclamation, we kind of laid out why it is that we feel that it's a good time to celebrate sustainability in October. Just in general, that Kent has always had a history of being concerned about sustainability issues, and they created the Sustainability Commission, and the work that commission did to create some goals were specific to conservation and also transportation and improving it, making it clean, which leads me into our work that we're doing along with Kent State's Office of Sustainability to do the GEO Tour, Green Energy Ohio Tour, which includes a green, clean transportation cruise-in. So the wording in our commission's documents kind of direct us to do this type of thing, in my mind anyway. And so on the 29th, Saturday, from noon until 4, we're having the second annual Kent GEO Tour here in the city, and there are many stops that people can make. It's a self-guided tour. I have flyers for that. And we're also doing the Clean Transportation Cruise-In, where we're going to have a CNG bus and other people in the community who are bringing their energy-efficient vehicles, whether they be hybrids or electric. So again, thank you to the mayor for declaring sustainability for October.
You thank this group. I'm only part of them.
And the rest of the group as well. Okay.
October or September?
October, did I say September?
October
Oh,
29th? What day?
No,
is
the flyer,
GEO Tour?
the Green Energy Tour is September 29th, because we're part of the Green Energy Ohio group. That was the weekend that they were offering to do that. The other thing that's happening is Kent State also recognizes sustainability for the month of October. And so it's really truly the entire community who is celebrating, working towards sustainability. Okay, so I have the flyer. I'll give them to Tara. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not this weekend, it's the 20th.
Now we have Terry Thompson.
This, and
Terry, we're going to give you a couple minutes in case you may need it.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
I'm Terry Thompson with Republic Services. Good evening, and I appreciate your efforts during the holiday. I understand what you went through. I'm here to acknowledge the delay in the brochure that went out about 2.5 weeks late, which really was the crux of the problem, and I believe our call center was ill-prepared to handle the calls. So the brochure we can't remedy. The call center we've remedied, and I think Melanie's confirmed that through some of the folks she works with, that they understand the program clearly and what we tried to do. And at any rate, I apologize to you for that and ask your forgiveness for it. But for the most part, we are on track, and I think for the next 30 days or so, we will be making adjustments to folks that have gotten the unlimited service set up. That was the default, and everybody got it, unfortunately. We rolled prices back effective September 1st for anybody that's called in. So if you were put on unlimited, you wanted bag, if you called in the 10th, the 20th, and up through November 30th, we'll roll it back through September 1st. So those credits will take care of any overcharges that might occur in the future. I want to keep this brief because I know you folks got a long evening, but we do have some ongoing issues that will continue. One of them will be residents that are part of, say, an HOA, possibly serviced by a competitor. We don't know who they are. I mean, we sent them an invoice and we gave them a bill, an invoice. They got the brochures as well. If they just simply discard it, the next part of that process is they're going to be a delinquent customer, and we got to identify them at some point. So, we've still got to sort through those kind of things, as well as folks that may have been in an HOA that was summary billed to the president of the HOA.
What's an HOA?
I'm sorry, homeowners association.
Association,
I'm sorry. So if a bill went out to a homeowners association and we sent an invoice to all of the addresses that we had, so those folks may be something that we've got to settle up as well. But it really was all a function of not having a good address list. We tried to merge the one that we had, the one Portage County Solid Waste had, as well as the one the city had from the utility committee. And there were a lot of holes and gaps in them. So we did the best we could do, and we thought the best thing to do was just to send it out to everybody and remedy it as it had to be remedied. But this way we'll know who the people are. We're going to have a good list when we're done with this that we can provide to Melanie and her group. So anything going forward. But other than that, I'm open for questions or comments. Yes, sir.
So if a resident received a bill for the unlimited $23.95, 2 or 3 days later in September, so I imagine that first bill that went out was for what, from September to October?
It depends on which billing cycle they were in.
Okay. And then they said, well, gosh, I don't need unlimited, I need 2 cans.
Right.
And they called up, switched to 2 cans. Are they going to be credited the difference between the 2 cans and the unlimited for the next billing cycle?
Yeah, what should happen, the billing, the 30 gallons price is $19 a month, or $57 a quarter. The unlimited is $69.75 a quarter, so that's about $12.75. The new pricing matrix went into effect September 1st. So any changes that people are asking for are going to be made September 1st, even if it goes into November. Because, like I said, we want to make sure people are on the right service. We're billing people for what they want.
But are they going to get a credit for the?
Yes.
For the 23? So the next bill, so suppose they paid that 23 right away, and they called in and say, hey, I don't need this, then on their next billing cycle, they're going to show that they overpaid then?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Or there'll just be a credit showing up on their next bill.
Tracy?
So if the person has chosen the bag system, they don't pay a bill except the recycling $6.50, correct, every month?
Yeah, they'll be billed $19.50 a quarter, and then they buy their bags.
That's the recycling,
That's the recycling piece.
okay.
Right.
Because you might want to talk to your call center again. I had a resident call in and they said that $23 was the service charge for you to pick it up. And then they had to buy the bags also. The $19 a month is purely the recycling bill.
I think, yeah, I'll check into that.
Yeah.
Check into that.
Tracy? Dave has a brochure in front of you. It's got an outline here.
What we tried to do, just for your information, we left at your chairs tonight, like has been said a couple times, we talked to a lot of people over the last couple of weeks, and so we tried to take the themes that we were getting the most questions on, and a lot of it really came down to misunderstanding the consolidation of billing between recycling and trash. In retrospect, look, I don't like to see any of my bills go up, but I think given the history, how long we've had this, the same bill, it hasn't gone up in seven or 8 years. We're still well below most of our peers around us in the townships and cities. That should be at least a good story, but unfortunately the good part of the story got lost because of misunderstanding, and that the recycling bill went up fairly significantly with an understanding of why that is, why the county was in the position they're in. We've been fortunate that recycling markets in the last 10 years have been enough to subsidize, underwrite a portion of our bills, and now those markets are a lot softer. We're seeing a little more truer cost. So that's why that jumped. But for people that, hey, most people don't track what we're doing in this whole consolidation of the billing, I think threw people. When they saw the significantly higher number, they assumed it was their trash. Now trash is a little piece of it, but it's actually a lot of it is that recycling. So anyways, this is just something we put together in-house. Please know we have it. We're happy to get you more. We think it does a little more explaining at the community-based level. So again, it's out there. We'll make it available to the public. We're not currently planning on mass mailing it. I mean, we don't think that's probably worth it at this point. But if it turns out that we need to, we could. So anyways.
It's on the website.
Tracy, go ahead.
I just I had a question on the tires too. Is it $45 per tire to pick up tires?
Yes. Tires have to be, just to give you a little overview, tires have to be handled separately from everything else. And for anybody to haul tires over a certain volume of tires, you have to have a special tire hauling permit. That keeps anybody from picking up tires and dumping them in a ditch somewhere. I mean, you can do it 1 or 2 or 5 at a time, but tires have to be handled differently or separately. So, and we can't put them in that truck, so we have to send a supervisor out to get tires.
Why?
The solid waste district typically will provide for drop-off of tires. So I guess the encouragement would be to tell folks, if you go to get tires, you might want to make sure that the people that put the new tires on would take the old tires. I think it's usually a $2 charge or something to do that.
All right. Hope.
Terry, you indicated when we met earlier that, you indicated when we met earlier last week that there would be no delinquent letters sent out to customers until we get this all sorted out. And that date that we used for no negative collection activity was October 31st, correct?
Yeah, October 30th or November 1st, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And that, so, and then that any problems would, you said go back to, you would take it back to September 1st?
Right.
Okay.
Right. The other thing that could occur is we could have somebody that didn't pay their bill August, July, August, September,
Understood.
that could
Yeah.
go into a bad debt situation. So we probably will treat them, we will treat them as we normally would. Anything that has to do with credits or prorations on this, we'll take care of them.
John?
Is there any difference in costs on the recycling for commercial or residential for one blue bucket?
The only difference I could see, if you have a 96-gallon cart for a resident and right beside it would be a commercial stop, if it was sitting at the curb, I can't see that there would be any difference. But if it's something that we had to go off the street to get, we had to go around to a parking lot off an alley, or there's some special thing we had to do to pick it up, there would be a separate charge.
Okay.
And it would be based on the commercial
Yeah,
rate.
probably.
Anybody else? Anybody else? The woman that lives at 614 Pioneer that I have to live with, After 18 months of asking for a container, we finally got it today. So thank you.
Was that recycling or trash?
Trash.
He's got 4 recycling ones.
All right, thanks for coming. It's been a hard time, not only for you, but for our in-house staff as well. I hope now that we're going to sail a little bit easier, even though there is a cost increase. So, thank you.
There are going to be continued calls. I just want to caution everybody on these as we reset and try to figure out the HOAs, condo association, apartments that all we have is an address for. So getting around to them and checking those over is going to be, it's going to take a little time to get those corrected. But I assure you, we're not going to leave anybody hanging. We're not going to, everybody will be whole when we're done. I promise you that. I have some brochures I'm going to leave. This is for our, my resource. If people need a container replacement, repair, delivery, if they need extra services, if they have a question, if they log on, they can use an app on their phone, on their tablet, on their computer, but they can log right, that goes right into our dispatch, our local dispatch office. It doesn't go through the call center, and they're looked at every day. So if they need, if we have an accurate phone number for them, we'll call them back, we'll email them or whatever. But I'll leave these for you folks so you'll have more information on that as well.
Thank you.
And if I could, I will tell you, I used that yesterday, and because there's you can log on and access your invoice. So the questions like John had, you could type in, hey, am I going to get a credit? And that's pretty much what I asked, because I had that situation. And within 24 hours, they got the response, and the new invoice popped up on my screen with the reduced price. So that worked.
Thank you for that. I would also encourage you, if you have any questions, call me. Don't hesitate to call me, please, because I'd be more than happy to. Please don't put it on.
Wait, we got one more question. Robin?
It's a record courier here, just put, yeah, there you go.
I
write
was
it down.
wondering, you're talking about additional, you're talking about some additional added on work for the company that works, that they would have to go and pick up something and move it out to the curb. They have to go around. What happens with seniors who are, debilitated, have limited capacity to be able to do anything to get that out there, but they have to get it out there and they can't get anybody else to help them do it? What are we doing regarding that, or is there something built in for seniors, or just disabled people in general?
That's a great question, because we offer that to residents that cannot get it out for whatever reason. As long as there's nobody, if they're the head of the household and there's nobody in the household that can do it, we'll go to the house and get it. We'll get the trash carts. We'll get the only thing is if there's refrigerators, bulk items, yard waste or whatever, we ask it brought to the curb, because obviously they didn't move that refrigerator out, so we ask that they move that to the curb and or anything else there would be. But
how do you identify it?
Well, that would be a question. I'd like to work with you guys on that, because if it's somebody that, we want to have the councilman who would probably know those people better than anybody and know their circumstances, if you would approve it or the city would approve it. Otherwise, we just have people calling us saying, we want it picked up at the door.
Well, again, I guess the situation is going to be, how do we get that information to you for disabled people? And what would be the requirement? I'm sure we can't just go in there and say, Bob down the street here, who's 50 years old, and there's no real issue with him, but I know him and I'd prefer him to not have to bring his stuff to the curb. Sure. How do we identify, what additional information we have to give your company to ensure that the people are meeting whatever standard we've applied to do that?
We actually have a form in the service department that the resident can fill out, and then there's some information that they provide us, and then we get that to the hauler. So we already have that in place, and we do have several.
We've been doing that.
Yes, yes.
It's nothing new.
And so that'll be something that we'll follow up. It should have transferred right with their current accounts, even though they were signing up for new ones. But if anybody has any problems with that, they just need to come in and see us or call us.
Okay, then it'll probably be some of those councilmen, because these people aren't in the system. And they, and I guess I would just happen to notice one because I knew the lady was elderly, and I went up and she said, I got to try to guess, well, who's helping you? And she said, well, I just take it out there because they don't know. And so, I mean, the aspect of us getting that information out to them would be helpful.
Yeah, they just need to call our office.
All right. Compliments on Dave Brewer for putting this brochure together. I'll tell you, this part is about the easiest thing to understand on it.
Good.
And it's good.
Thank you.
That sort of looks like Harrison's work.
All right. Is there further, Tara?
No more visitors, sir.
Written communications?
We have written and oral communications. We have 5 oral, which are a copy of the Board of Elections letter to the Service Director regarding all of our polling places upcoming for the November 6th election was received on September 13th. We received the Civil Service agenda for the 17th of September on the 13th. Parks and Recreation Board packet for the 20th was received on the 18th. The Health Department agenda for the 19th. The minutes from August 14th and their statistical report was received on the 18th. And then the Planning Commission agenda and staff report for October 2nd was received on the 18th. As far as the written goes, Parks and Recreation Board packet from August 16th was received on August 20th. Civil Service meeting agenda for August 20th was received on August 16th. The Clerk of Council received a letter from the Portage County Board of Elections confirming the ballot proofs were ready to be viewed during business hours on September 4th and 5th, and I did go and proof the ballot. The Sustainability Commission meeting agenda for September 11th and the minutes from August 6th were received on September 10th. And we have 2 liquor licenses that I need a motion to approve and send back. There's a new liquor license request received August 27th from Twisted Root Limited, doing business as Twisted Root Cellars located at 257 North Water Street, to which Chief Lee had no objections. And a new
Go ahead.
And a new liquor license request received September 4th, 2018 from Kent Entertainment Group LLC.
Let's separate that. Let Jack make the motion here for the first one.
Oh, you want to separate them? Okay.
Oh, they're 2 different ones.
Okay.
Okay, no objection.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, Tara.
Okay. And then the second is the new liquor license request received September 4th from Kent Entertainment Group LLC, located at 100 East Erie Street, Suite 130. Again, Chief Lee had no objections.
Okay.
Move to return with no comment.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. City manager's report?
I move items 1 through 8 on the city manager's report.
Second.
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion? Tracy, you have discussion on the city manager's report?
Good place.
All right. I didn't know what you were talking about. No other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Further, Mr. Ruhr?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right, standing committee report, committee of the whole. I need a motion.
I'll move the committee meeting minutes of September 5th, 2018.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferrara. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes. Gwen?
For the committee of the whole, on page 9 of 12, there's a misspelled word in the first paragraph that I think needs corrected. And where is that other? Roger's trying to make me look bad. And then, what's it?
There it is, right there.
Okay. And this is health and safety. Okay, so for the committee as a whole, I just have that one correction. And then the other one's health and safety.
Is that something we could just do?
Yes, it should have been, actually, anytime you guys, and I believe Hope will follow it up, it can be told to me at any point in time the week prior to the meeting, and the typo can be corrected for the draft.
Okay.
And then the signed minutes will have your corrections as suggested.
Okay.
I just don't know, you'll have to hand it to me so I know exactly what typo you're talking about. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Is there another one, Gwen?
It's from another committee.
It's another committee.
All right. So the motion includes the correction, I guess? Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
Abstain.
2 abstentions.
3.
3. All right.
Now we can do the actions.
Yes.
Wait,
I
before
need a
you do
motion
that,
for
I
the
need to
action.
know, I need to know which 3 abstained for the minutes. Tracy.
Roger,
TJ.
Jack, and Tracy.
Okay, thank you.
like to move the two actions recommended.
Second.
Any discussion on the actions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Community Development, Mr. Kuhar.
Move the committee meeting minutes of September 5th.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 2 abstentions. Jack and Tracy
Thank
abstain.
you.
All right, we have one draft with the clerk read draft 2018-07 in title only.
Draft number 2018-107, a resolution accepting a grant in the amount of $3,284 to the City of Kent for the Kent Creativity Festival from the Ohio Arts Council and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
And Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Move adoption.
Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
And Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Resolution number 2018-107 passes.
All right.
That's it for community development.
Finance Committee, Mr. DeLeone.
I'll move the committee meeting minutes of September 5th, 2018.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
2 abstentions. Jack and Tracy.
I'd also like to move the action recommended.
Second.
Any discussion on the action? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Would the clerk read draft number 2018-03 in title only?
Draft number 2018-103, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2017-156, the current appropriation ordinance passed December 13th, 2017, as amended by ordinance number 2018-33 passed February 21st, 2018, as amended by ordinance number 2018-38 passed March 21st, 2018, as amended by ordinance number 2018-51 passed April 18th, 2018, as amended by ordinance number 2018-71 passed June 20th, 2018, and as amended by ordinance number 2018-92 passed August 15th, 2018, so as to increase appropriations in Fund 001 General, Fund 201 Water, and Fund 301 Capital, and so as to decrease appropriations in Fund 202 Sewer, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
And Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
And Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2018-103 passes.
Okay, would the clerk read draft number 2018-04 title?
Draft
104.
number 2018-104, a resolution accepting a donation in the amount of $750 to the City of Kent Parks and Recreation Department from the Ohio Elks Association for a portable sound system and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
And Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
And Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Resolution 2018-104 passes.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2018-105 in title only?
Draft number 2018-105, a resolution accepting a donation in the amount of $2,557.97 to the City of Kent Parks and Recreation Department for the Reverend Hal Walker Rest Area and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
And Mr. Sidoti.
Yes.
Move adoption. Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion on adopting this ordinance?
Where is it?
Mr. Ferrara,
Where is it?
right where the bike path comes down on Franklin Avenue, am I right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next to the bridge.
Gotcha.
Walgreens?
Yep, yep.
All right. Is that,
Nice.
any other discussion?
I just want to say that I think this is a wonderful thing that we're about to vote on, and I wholeheartedly support it. It's, I think, an apt tribute to a person that has contributed not just to Kent, but to many other communities in his long and varied life. He does have a very storied life, having known people such as Reverend Martin Luther King, and this is wonderful. And I believe this donation comes from the Kent Environmental Council, perhaps. But it was, there are a lot of people in this community that are very excited about this, so go visit it.
Call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
And Mr. Turner.
Yes.
Resolution number 2018-105 passes.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2018-106 on title only?
Draft number 2018-106, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
And Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Move adoption, sorry.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll on adoption.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar? Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
And Mr. Amrhein.
Yes.
Resolution number 2018-106 passes.
Is there further, Mr. DeLeon?
That is all.
There is no business under health and public safety. There's nothing under land use.
There is
We have
minutes.
minutes.
All right, let's do that.
Safety.
I move to approve the minutes of committee meeting minutes.
On health and public safety.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at,
I move the committee meeting minutes of September 5th, 2018.
Second.
I've got,
Any discussion?
yeah. On the page 7 of 8 of the minutes, the motion to continue to adopt the T21 legislation as written was seconded by myself and should be corrected, not Ms. Shaffer.
I will have to re-listen to the tape and I will make the correction.
Thank you.
So when the correction is made, it will be signed as appropriate and scanned in.
Are you satisfied, Gwen?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, Heidi, did you want to confirm that?
Yes, I did. I was
Okay.
nodding away.
Okay, thank you, I didn't see it, all right. Yes.
Yeah, so we need to move them then as corrected. Is that correct?
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
aye.
With the correction, opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Two abstentions. Land use? Mr.
Nothing.
Ferrer?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, streets and sidewalks, Mr. Sidoti.
Yeah, I'd like to move the committee meeting minutes of September 5th, 2015,
Second?
or 2018.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstention.
And I'd like to make a
Abstain as well,
motion
sorry.
that we approve the action recommended.
Second?
Second by Mr. Ferrer. Is there any discussion on the actions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Would the clerk read draft number 2018-108 in title only?
Draft number 2018-108, an ordinance amending section 353.02 of the codified ordinances of the City of Kent titled Parking Regulation Authorization and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
And Mr. Amrhein.
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
And Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2018-108 passes.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2018-109 in title only?
Draft number 2018-109, an ordinance amending section 353.03 of the codified ordinances of the City of Kent titled Parking Permits and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Second by Roger. Call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
And Mr. Farrar?
Yes. Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
And Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2018-109 passes.
Thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2018-110?
Draft number
Title only.
2018-110, an ordinance amending Chapter 355 of the codified ordinances of the City of Kent titled Municipal Parking Lots and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
And Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
And Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2018-110 passes.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Mr. Sidoti, you have anything further?
No, that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Special committee reports, anything? Unfinished business, anything? Under new business, items needing council action or referral, Mr. Amrhein?
Yes. A few months ago, we received a packet from Mary Kennelly about the leaf and grass and twigs that are on the streets and the danger that they are. And we do have an ordinance that talks about, I can't remember the word, but it's not, it does not refer directly to those, and it really needs to, because every year I have an issue with people raking their leaves into the street, which is not allowed. So I think it would be, if we could put it into committee to discuss including leaf, grass, and brush into that ordinance. would be
Is there a
helpful.
second?
Second.
Second by who? Heidi?
Yeah.
All right. Further discussion, Jack?
No, it's
Any more discussion?
Nope, I just think it's, well, I do, I guess. I think it's important to clarify that.
All right, does anybody else have discussion?
May I ask for a repeat of leaves, grass, and what was the other item?
Brush.
Brush, thank you.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same signs. Anything else? Mr. Kuhar?
Yeah,
You have your hand up.
since we passed the tobacco 21 ordinance, I've received several calls about people's concern, since there seems to be a very increase in kids between 14 and 18 that were smoking the vapor cigarettes and that. And the worry is that with the opioid epidemic going on, that, kids might turn to that type of a thing to experiment with. And deep into that thought train, what do we have to occupy the kids? And a topic keeps coming up, and I know this is going to go over in the parks. We need some type of a youth center that the kids can go to expel their energies rather than going to the neighborhood drug. So I don't know, if we need a motion to maybe have administration talk
You need a
to
motion to put it in committee for discussion.
the committee to see if we want to go to parks with this or how it can be handled, but that's the motion.
Is there a second to his motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Turner. Further discussion?
The only discussion is, you know, for 10 years I've been on council, I think we've needed some place for the youths to go. And, you know, and that's just part of it, and the drugs are the other part. And I think if we could at least save some of the kids from going the wrong direction, we've done a good job.
Mr. Turner, you got further discussion on the motion?
Well, I just wanted it to be discussed, to be honest with you. But I do agree, most especially with the prospect of giving kids something alternative to do, and I think that's something that stands on its own, actually.
Mr. Ferrara?
Well, I think the intent is good. You know, we've had Parks and Rec has come with a rec center twice, and it's come to the levy, you know, a ballot issue and hasn't passed, and hopefully they do that again, but I would say I'm going to vote no on the motion and leave it to Parks and Rec to come up with a plan for the Parks and Rec Center.
Tracy?
I thought we already had a youth center on Franklin. Isn't that a youth center where Robert Wright used to work? Isn't that a youth center?
It's a recreational center. They have every right to go to. There's programs down
Yeah,
there.
so we already have that then.
Well,
All right. Roger?
Well, I'll vote yes on this, just to put it in committee, but I think that we shouldn't just talk about Parks and Rec. We shouldn't be just talking about the city. I think the schools should have a role in this conversation. I think, while the intent, as Garret said, the intent is very good, the mind of a 2018 young person is significantly different than when I was in school. And because there's so many other things to capture there. So I think that it won't be as easy to just, you know, we can set up all the programmings, but whether those kids get there or not. But I think it's worthy of a discussion, so.
Robin, you had something further to say?
no, I have the next.
On the subject,
Yeah,
on the motion.
I just want to maybe expand on the motion that the intent was not to build something new for the youth. It was to put together programming with what we have for activities for the youth. Maybe that's a better explanation of what I'm trying to accomplish, is put something out there for them.
Mayor, may I ask what committee you'd like this put to, Mr. Kuhar?
Would you like to be recognized?
Yeah, I said I'd like to, yeah.
What do you want?
I need to know which committee the motion has been made to be put to.
Community development, right?
Community development.
Community development.
Okay, thank you.
Gwen, you had a question?
Yes, I'm going to agree with what Roger had said. I think our school system they've got excellent after-school programs. One of the big problems I have is security. It's expensive, so I'll support the motion if it also includes discussion of not just limited to Parks and Rec, but also brings the school district or what maybe exploring some options we could explore there too,
Okay.
as well.
All right, is there further? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One pass. John, the Tree City Bulletin's full of stuff that the park puts in, programs that, for all ages. Mr. Turner?
Next up, I'd like to kind of go from the youth to seniors. Recently, I've been put in a position where there have been a couple of facilities in the city that are dealing with issues with seniors, low-income housing access, so on and so forth. And quite frankly, one of them was very blunt to me and just said, what does the city care about its seniors? Well, you know, I don't know. They kind of harken back to Silver Oaks and a few places like that. They don't know where they stand. And they would like to know, not that we're doing them wrong, but it's just they feel, I guess, that nobody's paying attention to what they need, and they would like the city to validate their concerns. And what I thought of then was perhaps we should do something like a seniors committee that has the ability to look down the road, see what the needs of senior citizens are, and start working it from that standpoint. Allow them then to build on what's going on presently and issues that they feel are going to be affecting them in the not too distant future. There is a great deal of fear among a lot of them. They're losing their housing because of costs going up. They're very concerned, and I think that they have a right to be. I mean, so my hope is that people on council agree to at least put this in the committee so that it can be discussed and we can learn better, be more proactive in supporting what seniors' concerns are.
Is that a
Is
motion?
there a second to, I guess that
Second.
was a motion.
Second.
It was awful strung out. Second by Tracy.
Tara has a question.
Tara?
We had a similar motion failed by Ms. Long, and that was
That's
the
what-
end of last year. It can't be brought back as a new matter till the end of
That's right.
the end of the year.
Melissa Long brought that up, same thing.
You have to wait till the end of the year to create a senior committee.
Could you read to me what her
I
statement
can't write at the moment unless I look the minutes up
We'll
on
get
it.
it to you.
But
We'll
I
get
can
it to
that
you.
But
Can I speak to that?
So we can't vote on this motion? That's what you're saying?
if you were looking, well, the motion, he didn't actually make a motion. He said what he'd like to do.
Well, I think
but-
somewhere in that.
Right, the
long
motion is
description
to
was-
make a senior committee, and that motion was voted down but when Ms. Long made the motion.
Right. Let me make this recommendation. Let's let Tara do the research on what was said before, and we'll come back, then you can bring it up again.
I'll make a different motion in regards to that.
Wait, Heidi had her hand up. Heidi, what do you want to say?
I just want to say that maybe that could be a very great, we're trying to launch this One Kent initiative, and that could be, one of the groups that we really elicit their interests and their concerns and, try to get their voices out there. So, we could do it through another way other than having a committee.
All right. Tracy, you want to make a, what do you want to try at
I was
this?
just going to say, yeah, can we, would it be possible to have a motion just to put into committee discussing our senior population and various ways that we can support them? Because that's not having.
That's a different motion.
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Can you say that one more time?
Wait a minute. Say it again.
Put into committee discussions on how the city can support its senior residents, various things we can do to support our senior residents.
Second.
And which
Second by
committee?
Heidi.
Which committee?
That would be community development, I suppose.
All right, more discussion, Tracy?
No, I'm in the same situation Robin is. The two complexes that are having trouble right now are in my ward and Robin's ward. And a lot of times I feel helpless because we don't have, except certain areas that we can help them out in. And maybe we can even discuss some other way for senior housing that's not owned by a private company. Maybe we can discuss senior housing that the city has done or something like that. I don't know.
All right, Heidi,
Spitball.
more discussion on the motion you made?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of issues that need to come to the surface, and including, we have been put off on developing a senior wing of the rec center, of the hoped-for rec center. So I think that it is important to have their voices be heard and maybe talk about having some way that we can better integrate our seniors' voices into our discussions.
Anybody else have comment on this motion? Talk to the motion, Robin.
First off,
They have a nice
I guess would have a concern
space.
about what was stated. For clarification, I believe what Mrs. Long, well, I'll tell you what, I'll let you guys go on and get the language out. I believe it's different than, but the bottom line is, that's something that seniors should be doing. Seniors should be able to identify what their problems are.
Point of order.
Well,
You
yeah,
gotta
let's
speak
talk
to
on the motion.
Well, okay.
Any more, Roger?
Well, yeah, I'll vote for the motion because I think we've had two issues that come up here that fit very well under, we're an alleged compassionate city, and should we not extend compassion to those who are our seniors as well as young people who are struggling. And so I think it's an appropriate motion put in committee for discussion.
Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Is there anything else? Mr. Kuhar?
I had a phone call from a resident, and I think brought up an important safety issue, and that's the Fairchild Bridge intersection there where people are, even though the traffic has stopped going over the bridge one way or the other, people, and the light is green, people will continue and they'll just park right in the middle of the intersection, which blocks the traffic. So I'd like to refer that issue to the administration just to see if there is a possibility that we could put up a sign that, you know, do not block the intersection per ordinance, whatever. So.
Second.
Second by who?
Hey.
Any more discussion?
Nope, that's it.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, Mike, you're next.
Oh, okay. Every year, this gets brought up in our cemetery board meeting, and it's the wall that goes
Paint it.
along. You can't paint it. The paint, you can't touch it. I think it's owned by the city,
Yes, it is.
and I just want to refer that to the administration to see when we can get maybe something done with it.
I don't think you need a
Second.
motion. That's our problem.
Yeah, well, I know, but it's,
All right, you wanna
I
make
told
motion?
them that I would bring it to
Second
them
by
and-
Roger.
and bring it back
Or
up into the.
Garrett. Any discussion?
I'm losing
further?
that much hair?
Wait a minute. Oh.
I just, I know we had talked about it, and we came up at our meeting last week, and we were thinking about all of the blocks that we're taking down from the new police station, from the old police station, if them might be able to be used up there somehow, but, you know, I don't know if, that was one of the suggestions. I said, but they're probably just as in bad shape as the ones that are up there, but you can't even touch them things. They just fall apart. They're crumbling from all the salt, from the road salt from the winters, and
Should knock it down and plant
All right,
grass.
Garrett doesn't have any further discussion. Anybody else? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Further, anybody? All right, we're done with that. I don't have a report, but Jack has a motion to go into
Yeah, I have-
executive session.
I will move executive,
Councilman, comments?
Oh, all right, go
Okay.
ahead.
I have two things.
I thought we had them all.
No, not all of them.
Those are items that need attention.
One thing I'd like to make a public comment that I was wrong on an issue a few years ago, so, you know.
A few years.
And this is regarding, I think Wayne was adamantly against it, and I didn't think it was a good idea, was the roundabouts on Summit Road. At that time, I didn't envision the road being split, and I was trying to figure out how the kids were going to get across the road, but I think they did a wonderful job with Summit Road. That's my neighborhood, that's my ward, and traffic flows pretty good. Now, if we could just teach the people on Summit Street that they don't always have the right-of-way, sometimes some of the other people have right-of-ways, but that was just Jim and your crew, thank you, you did a good job. The second thing I would like to compliment on is where the old funeral home was torn down on West Main Street. It seemed to be a very controversial parcel.
Looking good.
And that is just a, you know, they're doing an excellent job on that building. I think it's an attribute to the neighborhood, and it looks good there, and I think it's going to be a good for the city and for the neighborhood. That's all.
All right, good, John. Anybody else? All right,
okay, I'd like to move an executive session immediately following the meeting in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, paragraph 121.22, section G, item 1 and 3. 1, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing. And number 3, conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action.
second. Anybody? Second, roll call.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach? Yes. Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
And Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
5 minutes, to clear the room.